Welcome to the Modern Frequency interview. Lily Enos. Okay, you named your new album Retaliation. Why?
So I named my single Retaliation, because it was it was kind of a sort of third person sort of perspective. It wasn't really about myself. It could be about really anybody. And it's just about the act of retaliation. It's about the idea of somebody basically kind of 180ing on you, so to speak. And so it's kind of speaking to that sort of phenomenon.
Is the whole project based on that theme?
So it's a single to be clear. So
Uh,
the song itself, yes, but it is part of a larger project that the album itself is not going to be called that.
Oh, what's the album title gonna be called then?
Well, that is a
N-
secret for now.
Secret. Got it, got it, got it, got it. When did you know you had the chops to play and sing?
I started playing and singing. Well, I've been singing for as long as I could remember. I mean, I think that came easier to me than talking, really. It still does. And so that always came first. But as far as guitar playing and songwriting, I started honing in on that when I was probably around 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
I was fortunate enough to have a lot of support from my dad, who is a very musical person, a very artistic person. And, it was just a matter of at first kind of finagling with his like 12 string Yamaha as a little kid and like not playing it right. And then getting more curious about that, him showing me a few chords, and it was, kind of being off to the races by that point.
I think it's such a it's an awesome craft to have, but it's so hard to like pick up a guitar and start playing. I think it's just so difficult.
Yeah, I mean it was. I mean it's they don't talk about the frustration and the feeling like you're on the verge of just wanting to say, screw this. I don't want to do this. And so I mean my way of practicing was that I would almost kind of use like my fingers as like a capo,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just bar like a single fret, and that would be my way of kind of building up that strength and muscle memory. And then eventually that um as a little kid, if you're comfortable doing bar chords, which is, takes a lot of weight and a lot of pressure on your fingers, it's easier to do open chords and things like that down the line.
It takes a lot of practice, like you said, and patience.
For
Neither
sure.
wish I have right now.
Well, I mean,
Um,
you gotta have some patience to,
oh yeah, yeah,
talk to
yeah.
all of the people that you have, you know.
Right, right, right. Your sound blends R&B in the 70s groove. Where was the inspiration behind that?
Um, so as far as the single, that definitely hits the nail on the head. But I think that if you were to listen to, the entirety of my catalog, at least what's out now, you would see it's kind of hard to pigeonhole me into a single category. But my love of music really comes from a lot of classic music, a lot of like 60s, 70s, like Carole King, the Beatles, man, it's like James Taylor, um,
Yeah, yeah.
just so many, and as far as even just vocalists as well, like Karen Carpenter, Olivia Newton-John, um, so many so many people have inspired me. And and then kind of going later into later eras, into the 90s and Tom York, Mark Lanigan,
Great.
Travis, things like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, how did you get signed to Winding Way Records? That's based out of Philly, right? Are you based out of Philly or no?
Yeah, so all of my work musically is done in Philly, but I live like just not even a half hour outside of the city. So I live in Jersey, New Jersey. So really getting signed was just a matter of being a pain in the ass, you know. It
You got to
was
be persistent. You got to be
for
persistent.
sure, so back when labels were allowed to be on Submit Hub, it was a matter of like pitching
Hmm.
songs. And so I had pitched my cover of Never My Love that I did, which was, like, the first thing I self-produced that, recorded that at home, and that was, like, the first thing I say I properly distributed on, like, Spotify and the platforms, and, of course, what was great was that it was well received by, the label, but they wanted to hear more original work, which I was in the process of doing, so by the time as I progressed recording my EP, which was a self-released project, I pitched those songs. I went out to open mics where the head of the label was doing, guest speaking positions, and I just kind of tried to show up and get us to put a face to a name for each other, and we were compatible.
Amazing, amazing. What was the studio experience like recording this project?
So it was wonderful. It was such a challenge in a rewarding way, to you have all these ideas and then you're tasked with having to communicate them to an engineer. And so really putting something that's so abstract and something that, at least for me, I approach as intuitively is is music to words was that was the hard part. But thankfully we gelled really, really well. And I already came in with a pretty uh concise demo. It was pretty clear the direction, and it was just about kind of breaking it apart and re-recording those parts, just doing it better, you know.
Very cool. Your songwriting delves heavily into relationships. Is that true?
For sure. I think it's transcendent of just romantic relationships, but just relationships as a whole.
Hmm.
It's just any kind of interpersonal relationship. And you know, my day job as a mental health therapist, it's like that's kind of my focus. Um, you know, and that seems to be what we, as humans, we're kind of just plagued with issues surrounding that,
Right.
so I guess it's the great equalizer to discuss that.
Yeah, and such a stigma. I mean, not as bad as it was back in the day, but still a little bit, still a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, yeah, we got some work to do. What's next for you? Are you gonna go on tour?
um I would love to. I mean, now it's really just about trying to engage with the community, get a fan base. I am playing out. I play, pretty intimate sets as of now. I just did the Kelly Music Center in Havertown, Pennsylvania, um just last week, and I am set to play at this little, like, kind of bar and club in South Philly. It's called Flannel, and, so the hope is just to kind of build momentum from that, transitioning from a solo act to a band act, and just trying to, you know, build a presence, get singles
Cool.
out, all of that.
Yeah, so any last thoughts? Like, do you want to plug your album or I mean, when is
Well,
the album's out right now, right? Or is it still on the way?
so to be very clear, I have a self-released EP out that was done prior to being signed to Winding Way. I
Okay,
do have it's a 4-song EP. It's a self-titled EP, Lily Enos. It's called. It has a scraggly doodle of myself on a white background, and you can find it anywhere on the interwebs. Retaliation is out now. It's a single that's going to be on the forthcoming LP. That we're going to have singles rolling out throughout the year for that. And yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to.
I gotta say, like going back to your sound again. I just want to say it's incredible. It's
Thank you
nothing
very
that you would hear on the radio today,
Not
but
at all.
not at all. But it's so innovative and creative. I think, you
Well,
know.
it really means a lot hearing that, coming from you. I really was I gotta be honest, kind of taking the professionalism away for a second and being a little fangirlish. The fact that you have interviewed so many people that I'm inspired by, and people who are associated with people who I'm inspired by. This was a really great opportunity to touch base with you. So thank you for that.
No problem. I appreciate your time. And once again, this is for Modern Frequency. And I again appreciate your time. Good luck to you.
Thank
And I
you.
hope to be in touch.
Sounds great, Robert. Thank you.
All right, thank you.